What happens when you are the person in charge of planning the family vacation and you're going to a theme park you haven't visited in over a decade? Well, that's what we're going to find out in this episode of Castle Talk Radio.
You're listening to Castle Talk Radio. We're live on the airwaves with Becca and Jessica. Now let's jump into this week's episode.
Okay, Jessica, I'm so excited. You finally went back to Universal Studios Hollywood. I mean, you grew up around there, but you hadn't been, you said, since your kids were little, and they're all teens now. So I'm guessing over a decade, right?
That's right. It's been so long. And really, I'm glad I waited because of the different things that we got to do.
Yeah, it's definitely not one you want to do often with little kids for most people. So I'm really excited that you were able to go and experience it. And of course, we've done an episode about it in order to prep you for this trip. And I also shared with you my Universal Studios in 1 day park plan, which everyone here can get for free by visiting castletalkradio.com and clicking on freebies. It's there for you guys to get. I'm super excited to hear how it all went. So there were three things I told you had to do before your trip. First, I said you need to buy the discount tickets from Getaway Today. That needs to include Express Pass. Okay. And after you purchase those, you need to go on to Universal's site and purchase early access for Super Nintendo World.
And we did it.
Yeah. So how much do you think that those things were super important to having a successful day at Universal?
I do. And it's really tricky because we're having this exact conversation on my Facebook page right now. And it is tough because that Express Pass is basically going to double your ticket amount. And people are discussing, is it worth it? And what if you can't? I really, from my one-time experience in the summer, I really hate to say that if you cannot add that you need to wait until you can.
Yeah.
However, if you already know it's out of your budget, don't try to make it, don't go into debt over an Express Pass. That's also what we're here for. The same type of strategies that you use for theme parks, like getting there early and prioritizing lines, will help you here. For me, there is no way that I would go back without Express Pass. I was thankful for it every minute of the trip, and I knew going into it that I did not want to go if I could not afford to add Express Pass, essentially doubling my ticket price.
Yeah, it's really important. But what I will say for those that maybe they're like, there is no way I can go. I believe a lot of times they have specials through Getaway Today, which you can get all our exclusive pricing that we have worked out with them for you guys by going to getawaytoday.com/castletalk. But right now, I think there's a second day free deal. Now, that might sound like that's the way to go, but just remember the second day's free, but now you're going to be waiting up to hours in line. Some of these lines get really long. But like Jessica said, you can use a lot of those strategies you use at Disneyland. I would definitely still purchase early access. That one's a lot more affordable. It's about $30 around there, it's a little more or less per person. And that gets you in a whole hour early to Super Nintendo World, which is a super crowded area the rest of the day. But then also just knowing you need to get out and you need to basically rope drop Transformers and the Mummy and rope drop Jurassic World before the crowds get there. And one thing I love about doing that is because people are either heading straight to Super Nintendo World when the regular park hours start and you've already done it, or they're starting at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter because they're big Potterheads. It leaves Transformers and the Mummy and even Jurassic World a little more easier access. Jessica, how many times did you ride the Mummy?
So our group rode it about 5 times. My youngest wasn't super loving it. He's 7 at the time, so he went on it the first time. And I knew there was a ride in the lower lot that I really loved. And I wasn't sure if it was Mummies or Transformers. And I didn't research before because I don't get sick on rides. It's fine. So I knew I was fine. And then once it started, I was like, yes. And it's so fun. And my nephew was like, that was fine, but I don't want to go again. So I was like, no problem. So we sent all the other teenagers on again and again. And this was after we did Super Nintendo World too.
Yeah, like I said, that first hour of general park opening, everyone's still, if they didn't have early access, they're heading to Super Nintendo World, or they're big Harry Potter fans and they're heading there. So it's a great time to do that whole lower lot. Another thing that you and I had talked about in the last episode is how the lower lot is quite a stretch to get down there. And I want to know, did you leave the lower lot and come back, or did you do lower lot and then once you left, you were not coming?
Yeah, absolutely. Completed the lower lot and did not come back. And the kids knew that, and I set the expectations. Part of doing theme parks or any vacations, whoever you're going with, is kind of setting up some expectations. So I said, ride it as many times as you want, because when we're done, we're done. And we did that. Like, we went on ride in Super Nintendo World twice. I read that some people even did it 6 times. 2 times was great for us. Everybody was happy with that. And so that was good. And then we used our Express Pass on it as well.
Which is new. I want to point out that's new. They just before your trip added to the Express Pass list. I'm guessing because the new Fast and Furious ride that they're building will not be on the Express Pass. So yeah, it used to be you couldn't even use Express Pass on that. So I was really excited for you to be able to do that.
Yeah. And I did see some people straight away at early entry access using their Express Pass when there was no line. And that's why we also bought that early access, so that we could save our Express Pass until a little bit later. And we were one of probably the first 20 people to get on the ride that morning. And people were already using Express Pass. So save that.
Yeah, it's just like at Disneyland. If you show up and it's a 5-minute wait, cancel that lightning lane or modify it and just go through the line. It's the same type of thing. A lot of our Disneyland skills transfer over to Universal. Okay, so you're talking about the Express Pass. I want to mention one of the reasons we say Express Pass is so worth it is because it's available on almost every single ride in the park, and even into the Hollywood Studios tour, which we're going to talk about because you got to do it during the 60th anniversary, and into Waterworld, which you skipped, and I'm mad at you for. But yeah, it's available at almost everything. I think there's like 1 or 2 little kiddie rides that don't use it. That's amazing. That's why it is so much more expensive than the multi-pass lightning lane at Disneyland. Okay,
Right.
so you finished the lower lot. Really
Yeah.
quick, you eat at Toadstool.
Absolutely. So they have a QR code, and you've written about that extensively. I have found the QR code online. I know you shared the QR code. I also found like the actual link, and I had that loaded up and was able to get my reservation. And we were even late to it because, had to ride Transformers and the Mummy one more time and one more time and one more time. And they did accommodate. I was a little bit worried because we were like 15, 20 minutes late. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But I tried to modify my reservation. There were still time slots left, tons. And it said, you already have a reservation today. You can't, because I was already late. I couldn't modify. But luckily we did go there, and I thought that was great. Everybody loved the food as well. And the desserts were really good. Food was great. It was a really good time and worth going to.
Yeah, so I do have one question because the last time I ate at Toadstools was last summer, and it was like you get to your reservation and then it was still like another 30-minute wait. Did you experience that, like to get through to order, or was it pretty slick and quick?
No, it was really slick. We went right to a cash register. They sat us at a table, and then they bring out your food to the table.
All right. Okay, one more question that I have is, did you guys purchase the power-up bands and use them?
No.
So you still had
we didn't.
about it?
Yes. I'm sure we could have spent a lot more time in that space, but I had told the kids, like, I spent our extra on the Express Pass, so we chose not to do the power-up band, and they were fine with it.
Yeah. So what I will say is the power-up bands basically give you coins in the app, and there is a mission you can complete. But even my kids who all have power-up bands, like, we didn't find them to be essential to the experience. I do think it's sometimes good to have one, because a lot of times when you go to some of the not the rides, the little mini games, they want you to use that power-up band, and like it freaks the team members out when you don't. And they've also added, did you see the new area they added? Was this there yet when you were there in the ice castle where it's like a wall where you're like literally playing the video game?
Ooh, I would think that it probably was there, but we must have missed it. There's
I know it opened
It's a
around the
small
same.
space, but there's so much going on, and it's just so beautiful and visually just amazing. It's just such a cool spot. And one tip that I do have is, so there's one entrance and exit right now. That's how they work it. There is a restroom inside that space, but there's also a restroom right outside the exit. So if you know you're already leaving, just go on the exit one because no wait there.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so moving to the upper lot, the one thing you and I talked about in the last Universal episode that we did was the Hollywood Studio lot tour. And it's amazing. No matter when you go, you need to do this. But you got to go during the special 60th anniversary tour, which has, unless they've extended it, we're recording this like the day it's ending or something. And so we may extend it later. I don't know. But you got to do some extra stuff and get out of the tram.
Yeah, and I wish they would extend it because it was fantastic. The tour around the back lot is so fun. It's just a quintessential thing from Universal Studios Hollywood. Because it is a working lot, you won't find the same experience over in Orlando, and this is something that makes it so unique and so special. And this has been around for 60 years, and it's such a classic. There's some things that I remember and recognize from my childhood, and then there's new references to newer shows and things like that. And during the 60th, they had a pit stop for you right outside of Bates Motel that you could get off. And let me tell you, I am not going to Halloween Horror Nights anytime soon because it was daylight and the actor chose my daughter to single out and follow along with his shifty eyes and scary weapons. And we were giggling and screaming, and it was so fun. And we just had a great time. And then there was different photo spots like Fast and Furious, Jaws, all kinds of different things. King Kong that you could do. You could choose to just walk right by and get on the next tram, or you could spend kind of as much time there as you wanted and then get on another tram coming by. And there was pretty much no wait when we were ready to hop on the next tram.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I wish they would bring that to be a year-round thing because that's so cool. And I'm sure it bumped up the number of people doing the tour as well. So great to hear that you got to experience that. And I'm not going to Halloween Horror Nights either, so it's okay. All right. So, Jessica, you've never read Harry Potter, watched the movies, and that's a big, like, a main thing that people go to Universal for. So, did you go to that land at all?
We did, and you cannot refill your refillable drink cups there because they don't have soda there. She called it something. It's probably like a term from the book and movies that I don't know. And I asked, can I fill this up in there? And she said, no, not only in the other worlds or something. I don't know. And I was like,
We're in the Muggle world. Muggle.
there you go. So, but yeah, refillable drink cups and popcorn, if they have that during your visit, so worth it. We did frozen butterbeer and we did the attractions. My daughter got a wand and she did the whole like process. Like you can go in there and just pick out one, but she did like the quiz and saw her options, and then she did the spells throughout the land, which are really fun, and some of them are quite complicated. And not everyone can do it. Just because you have it doesn't mean that it's going to work. You have to get it just right. And so that was really fun to try.
Yeah, and also not to give away too much of the magic, but how the wands work, sometimes where the sun is affects their how well they're working. So it's always fun. I have a reel on my Instagram where I was at Universal Orlando trying to do one. It was the Wingardium Leviosa, and I kept doing it and it wouldn't do it. And then I finally went, I suck, and did it.
You said the magic words, apparently.
So yeah, the wands are so much fun. My kids are all excited to get their own wand. Like, we have one. My husband has a Voldemort's wand because he's Slytherin and evil, apparently.
Of course.
But they used that all around and had so much fun, and now they can't wait to get their own wands. So, did you also do Flight of the Hippogriff, or did you only do the big ride?
So our party did both, but I went and did the Butterbeer run while they were doing that. But also, I was really surprised at how easy it was to get the Butterbeer because they have so many different stands and there's like no wait. Like you just walk up and order it right there. I was very impressed by that. We also did go to the Three Broomsticks for a meal, which they have mobile order, but there was again no wait in there. The dining room itself was crowded, but we were able to find a spot closer to the bar, which is kind of in a second room. And so that kind of flew under the radar, and we were able to get a spot for all 6 of us.
Great. It sounds like you had a great trip. So now I just need to know, are you hanging up your Mickey ears for a wizarding robe?
Definitely not. I feel like it's a great add-on. And like you mentioned, we did not stay for Water World. We did go to the Kung Fu Panda show, and we did some of the littler kiddie type of rides in the upper lot as well. But we did finish around 3 p.m. We were done. It is summer. It is hot. And the kids were really screen fatigued by the end, by the afternoon. We skipped Despicable Me. I've been on that before, and they said, no more screen rides. Let's not. So we did The Secret Life of Pets at the end, which is such a cute attraction. Very cute and classic kind of dark ride attraction, and doesn't have like that VR type of feel to it. You know, I would love to see more rides, but looking at Fast and Furious being built, that looks like it's an outdoor coaster. And it's also very cool because you're going down the escalator to the lower lot, and you can kind of see the design of it that's going to appear that you are driving off the cliff, and that looks like it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one. So just one thing I do want to put out there for anyone tuning in, Universal Studios is not as plus size friendly as Disneyland Park. So most of the rides do have test vehicles outside, and you might be surprised when you fit everything at Disneyland, you may not fit on some of the rides at Universal. So definitely be sure to look up online, other people's reviews, or use those test seats before waiting in a line to be told you can't ride. And of course, just like at Disneyland, even if you're not going to ride, you can always walk through with your party and then exit. Jessica, you're not giving up Disneyland for Universal, but we're so glad that you went and checked it out. Was it worth the wait?
It was. I love being able to go to Super Nintendo World, especially with my kids who love that franchise, and just letting them experience this as teens. I think it was so perfect.
All right. Well, next time we see you, we'll see you hopefully back at Disneyland.